Hey guys, I want to try and take a different approach at teaching SQL. I like analogies, and I'm not sure if this one's going to resonate with everyone, but this is one way to think of it. And I'm starting off with some SQL Server code here. I like to have code to reference when you're first starting off. It's like learning a new language. Maybe you want to see what the language sounds like, from the start, from fluency. You just want to hear how it sounds with two people speaking fluently in another language that you're learning. So this is kind of like it's not really a report, but it's a script, a SQL Server script, and it has some parts in it that I want you to try and recognize. I have off to the right here who, what, when, where, and why, and how, and from. So I'll try this approach. We'll see if it resonates. If it doesn't, hey, we'll try something else here. So with SQL, there's generally three parts. Generally, there's not always going to be this layout, and they're going to get more complex the more you're trying to do. So the first part is the select area here. So I'll try and stay away from jargon as much as I can, but this is your who and your what, if you can think of it that way. Let me break out all these parts first, and then we'll go back and explain them as we go. But the next section is going to be your from clause. This is, I couldn't really think of one of these that fit in there, but we're going to say it's going to be this one, from. Easy enough. The last one here is going to be where. So it's your third clause. And we'll ignore order by for now. We can get into that later, but this is generally going to be your when and your where. And that should be easy enough as well because where is in that code, the word where. Why we generally don't use in SQL, or I wouldn't categorize it here. And how is also going to be, to me, going to be maybe in your last section here. So maybe we'll talk about that. But for now, I would think of it in three parts, right? So we have select, from, and where. Anytime you see this blue text, that's really your indicator of how you should see it. It's almost like seeing a piano. If you don't play the piano, maybe you just see a bunch of white keys and black keys and nothing's really standing out to you. For someone who does play the piano, maybe the notes kind of stand out, and there's like reference points, right? So you have middle C, and then you can like visualize, okay, I know where the C is in all of these keys because I'm familiar with what a piano looks like and what the keys look like. So you know every note where they are because you recognize it. So same thing here. Once you start to get to know SQL, you'll start to recognize it, um, and you'll be able to read it very quickly. You can scroll through a whole report. You'll know kind of what to ignore and what to really hone in on once you start to get the hang of it. You won't have to go line by line. You'll look at it in like chunks. So with that analogy, thinking of it in chunks, that first chunk here is a select. So this is what you're getting returned to you, your who and your what, maybe, if you can think of it that way. So if I look at loan key here, this first field in the select statement or in the select clause, I believe that's the right term. But here you see loan key, and if you look down here, you see the first column is also loan key, and that would make sense, right? It's the first field you're listing in your select clause, and it's your first column that's returned here when you run SQL. Issue date is next, and then issue date is here as well. Loan amount, and etc. So anything you want to see at the bottom of or in your results is going to be what you're going to want to put in your select clause. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 fields up here, and then you have your 8 fields down here. So that's your select clause. We'll leave it at that for now. And then your from clause is going to be next. So this is where are you getting this data from? So you're telling SQL, show me these fields, but it's like, okay, sure, from where? So you're going to tell it a table, right? So if you look at code and you don't know SQL, but you are seeing like a maybe a script like this, when you see DBO dot something dot a string or letters here, this is going to be your table. So DBO dot table, this table is called lending club loans. So that's where you're telling SQL to get the data from. So not too complicated, right? This is where you're getting it from. Your next section is your where clause. So this is pretty important. You know, you have your when and your where over here, if we're following this analogy. This is going to be, you're describing kind of what you want to see, what the criteria is. So if you say that you want, um, let's say you want all beverages that are clear, you know, and are carbonated, right? So that's how you can hone in on what you want. You can put that in your where clause. So in this script, it's saying, show me these fields from this table, and then where the loan status group, so that's another field, is equal to active dash current. So if we're going to zoom in on this one line here, you're telling it, give you these fields when the criteria matches this first line, right? For starters. So active dash current. So I should see that every single column or every single value in this column that I get returned in this report should be active dash current. And you can see it's a perfect match here. Everything in here is that. Next, we have loan amount is greater than or equal to $5,000. So once again, if that is going to be true, we should see that everything in the loan amount column is greater than or equal to $5,000. You can't see anything 4,500, 2,000, $0, right? Because we're setting the criteria so that the loan amount is greater than or equal to $5,000. So that's our second line in the where clause. And your next line here is DTI is less than or equal to 40. So you don't need to know DTI, what the acronym means, debt to income. Just that it is a field and there seems to be some kind of number, and we're telling SQL, make sure that the DTI is less than or equal to 40. So just like the other two columns, everything here in the DTI field here should be less than or equal to 40. And now don't get confused here, because you see it in the where clause, these fields, loan status group, loan amount, and DTI, just because you see them in the where clause, that's not the reason why they're showing up down here. They're showing up down here because you told SQL to show you them down here, right? So up here in your select clause. So you have loan amount, which is right here. Oops, just deleted that. You have loan amount here, you know, and you have loan status group here. You have DTI here. So you can tell SQL, you can describe the criteria without seeing that field. So let's say that I wanted to make sure that the last payment amount is greater than $0. I can take that out of the select clause and it'll just disappear. But SQL will still know if I put it in the where clause here in this third box, if I put the last payment amount here in a new line, and I set the criteria greater than $0, then it'll still show me that data, but maybe it won't show me that field. I'll basically just have this, I'll basically just have these columns, and if I can get the right shape here, these columns, right? If I take out last payment amount here, this last column, I'll have it excluded from the results, but maybe if I put it in the where clause, I can still tell SQL what to give me. So make sure that it's greater than 0 in the where clause, but take it out of the select statement so you don't show me the output here. The last item here is going to be order by. So order by is, for me, kind of like a preference thing, right? So it's really hard for me to see data. I see data in chronologically for the most part in my job. So I kind of see data best when I have it sorted, right? You have people who don't need to add this clause or this line, the order by clause, but I need it. So I have order by issue date, that field. I'm telling SQL, give me this output, but sort it by the issue date and make it descending, DESC, short for descending. So show me the data and show me the issue date here. And this isn't a great example because the data is null. We're working with fictitious data, right? So this is null. It's not going to be a great example, but if there were values here, issue date, let's say this was like today, let's say this was yesterday, the day before that here, and so on and so forth, right? So if I put descending, it's going to show me the most current date here, and then it'll get chronologically older the further you go down. Just like if you're on a website shopping, show me price low to high, you're saying, show me the data, but show me it ordered in a way that I'm asking for it to be. So from, sorted price high to low, or most recent to less recent, that's where you can dial in how you want to see the data down here using the order by clause. So let me know if this is helpful or if this analogy kind of went over your head. There's plenty of ways to describe and teach SQL. We'll just keep on throwing stuff at the board, see what sticks, and see what resonates with you guys. So